What if everything you thought you knew about Jesus and Mary was only a shadow of the truth? What if hidden within the dusty scrolls of a long-forgotten sect lay a secret that challenges the very foundations of history, faith, and spirituality? Tonight, we venture into the world of the Essenes, an enigmatic group whose wisdom was whispered through the deserts of Judea, whose lives were devoted to purity, mysticism, and the pursuit of divine knowledge. And within their silent rituals and secret teachings, there are astonishing revelations about two figures who shaped the course of human consciousness, Jesus and Mary. The Essenes were not merely observers of faith, they were the keepers of hidden truths. They chronicled the subtle energies that flow through human beings, the celestial patterns that govern the soul, and the intricate spiritual laws that most of history would call miracles. Their knowledge was so profound, so precise, that it threatened to destabilize established hierarchies. Over centuries, their writings were fragmented, their communities dissolved, and their secrets buried, intentionally, by those who feared that such wisdom could awaken humanity beyond control. Among their teachings, the Essenes spoke of a man who would walk the earth not merely as a teacher, but as a living embodiment of divine resonance, a being whose consciousness could awaken others to the higher realms. They spoke of a woman whose presence was not simply maternal or symbolic, but vibrationally intertwined with the very currents of creation. And astonishingly, they recorded the interplay between these two souls in ways that challenge everything history has canonized. In this video, we will uncover what the Essenes truly believed about Jesus and Mary, the hidden dynamics, the esoteric truths, and the spiritual mechanics that have been deliberately obscured. This is not a story of myth or legend. This is a story of cosmic significance, ancient knowledge, and transformative insight, a journey into a truth that has waited quietly in the margins of history for those daring enough to seek it. Prepare yourself. By the end of this exploration, you may never see the story of Jesus and Mary, or even yourself, the same way again. To understand the Essenes' perspective on Jesus and Mary, we must first step back into a world almost lost to time, a world of desert communities, hidden scrolls, and spiritual discipline, so exacting it bordered on the mystical. The Essenes were one of several Jewish sects that existed in the Second Temple period, yet unlike the Pharisees or Sadducees, they lived apart, in secluded settlements near the Dead Sea, devoted to ritual purity, meditation, and a profound inner life. Their lives were governed by strict codes, but beyond these rules lay something far deeper, a philosophy of cosmic alignment, a belief in the interconnectedness of all souls, and a vision of a divine order that transcended ordinary perception. The Essenes left behind fragments of their wisdom in texts like the Dead Sea Scrolls, yet much of their knowledge was deliberately obscured. In their writings, they spoke of messianic figures in plural, beings of light whose mission was not simply to preach, but to awaken humanity to its latent spiritual potential. Unlike conventional religious narratives, the Essenes did not idolize these figures. They studied their patterns, their energies, and their teachings as one would study the movements of the stars. It was a science of the soul, rigorous and precise, yet infinitely subtle. It is within this context that we encounter the Essenes' view of Jesus. To them, he was not just a man or a prophet. He was an initiate, a soul whose life was a living symbol of alignment with higher laws. Some Essene texts hint that he trained among them, absorbing their meditative practices, their understanding of sacred geometry, and the esoteric laws of vibration and consciousness. Every word he spoke, every gesture he made, resonated with patterns that could awaken others, but only if one was attuned to perceive them. And then there was Mary. In the Essene worldview, she was far more than a maternal figure. She represented a living conduit of sacred energy, a keeper of spiritual balance, and an embodiment of divine receptivity. The interplay between her consciousness and that of Jesus was seen not merely as romantic or familial, but as a cosmic alignment, an energetic partnership designed to harmonize and transmit higher truths to the world. This esoteric vision explains why mainstream history has been so selective. The Essenes' teachings were threatening. They implied that spiritual awakening was a science, that consciousness could be trained, and that ordinary humans could, through alignment, touch realms of divine insight. Such knowledge could undermine political, religious, and social control, which is why much of it was suppressed, misrepresented, or dismissed as legend. In essence, the Essenes preserved a hidden philosophy, a map of human potential, a blueprint for spiritual mastery, and a record of two extraordinary figures whose lives were orchestrated to awaken consciousness. Understanding their context is crucial, because it allows us to peel back centuries of misconception and see Jesus and Mary not just as historical figures, but as living embodiments of an ancient, hidden wisdom that was almost erased from history. The first thing to understand about the Essenes' perspective is that they viewed existence not as a random sequence of events, but as a delicate web of energies and intentions. Every thought, every emotion, every action carried a vibration, and those who were attuned could perceive the subtle patterns connecting humanity to the cosmos. In this light, Jesus was not merely a teacher of morals. He was a resonant frequency, a being whose very presence aligned with divine currents. His teachings were coated with vibrations, metaphors, and symbols designed to awaken the latent consciousness in those who were prepared to receive it. Imagine, for a moment, a musician playing a stringed instrument. Each string has its own tone, its own resonance. Now imagine that through a precise combination of strings, rhythms, and harmonics, the musician can awaken dormant frequencies in the listener, unlocking hidden capacities of perception and awareness. This, according to Essene thought, was what Jesus' life and words were doing, stirring the hidden strings of the human soul, teaching through resonance rather than doctrine. Mary's role, as the Essenes described it, was equally profound, though often overlooked. She was more than a mother, more than a figure of compassion. She was the stabilizing energy in the cosmic equation. Her consciousness harmonized with Jesus, not in the sense of subservience or mere partnership, but in a sacred interplay that balanced active and receptive forces. In Essene philosophy, the union of masculine and feminine consciousness was not symbolic, it was energetic. It was the dance of creation itself, the interaction of complementary forces that could awaken the human spirit when properly understood. The Essenes also hinted at the training Jesus received in their sect. While much of this is cloaked in allegory, their texts suggest a regimen of meditation, ritual purification, and conscious observation of the natural and celestial world. This was not about isolation from the world. It was preparation to engage with it fully, but without being consumed by it. The aim was to cultivate an inner clarity, so profound that one could act with perfect alignment, perceiving not only the visible world, but also the subtle currents guiding every moment. But here is where the mystery deepens. The Essenes hinted that the public story of Jesus, the miracles, the teachings, the crucifixion, was only a fragment of the truth. Behind it lay a carefully orchestrated spiritual journey, one designed to awaken those ready to perceive it while remaining invisible to those who were not. Mary, in this context, was more than witness or caretaker. She was the anchor of this hidden process. Their lives, interwoven, were a living example of esoteric principles in motion: alignment, resonance, and the harmonization of higher consciousness. The Essenes' approach also challenges our conventional understanding of divinity. They did not necessarily see Jesus as God incarnate in the theological sense, nor Mary as immaculate in the purely doctrinal sense. Instead, they framed them as perfected human beings, initiates who had mastered the inner laws of life, consciousness, and energy. Their divinity was not granted from above, it was cultivated from within. It was an attainable resonance, a path that anyone willing to engage deeply could follow. Even more astonishing is the implication of their teachings for humanity today. The Essenes suggested that the dynamics between Jesus and Mary, between aligned masculine and feminine energies, between inner mastery and outer expression, are patterns embedded in the very fabric of reality. Understanding these patterns is not simply a matter of curiosity, it is a key to awakening latent potential within ourselves. And yet, for centuries, this knowledge remained hidden, coded in allegories, scattered across texts, or erased entirely. To uncover it is to step into a lineage of understanding that transcends dogma, bridging history, consciousness, and the very mechanics of the soul. To go deeper into the Essenes' teachings is to enter a realm where history, myth, and consciousness converge. One of the most shocking revelations is that Jesus and Mary were not merely historical figures. They were symbolic embodiments of a cosmic principle. The Essenes referred to this principle as the union of resonances, a subtle alignment of energies that mirrors the very structure of creation itself. Jesus represented the active, illuminating force, the spark of higher consciousness that seeks to awaken awareness. Mary represented the receptive, stabilizing force, the vessel through which the spark could manifest and endure in the material world. Together, they were not just partners, they were a living conduit of spiritual evolution. Some Essene texts suggest that Jesus' miracles were not supernatural in the way most religious narratives describe. They were the visible consequences of mastery over subtle laws, vibrational, energetic, and psychic. Healing, transformation, and insight were natural outcomes of his resonance with higher frequencies. Mary's presence was crucial. She was the harmonizer, the one who stabilized and amplified these energies. Without her, the resonance would have been incomplete, like an instrument played out of tune. Yet the Essenes also hint at a paradox that has fascinated scholars for centuries. While Jesus and Mary were aligned in purpose and consciousness, their path was intentionally veiled. Humanity was not ready to perceive the full magnitude of their union, and so the story was encoded in metaphor, ritual, and allegory. The Essenes were aware that revealing too much could overwhelm unprepared minds, disrupting the natural progression of spiritual awakening. This is why the mainstream historical narrative emphasizes miracles, moral teachings, and martyrdom, while the deeper energetic truths remain hidden in fragmented scrolls and cryptic commentaries. Consider also the Essenes' perspective on Mary's role beyond motherhood. She was described as the keeper of the resonance, a title suggesting that she maintained the integrity of the spiritual blueprint Jesus embodied. This idea challenges conventional views. Mary was not passive, not simply a supporting character. She was active, aware, and essential to the unfolding of cosmic design. Her insight, presence, and alignment ensured that the divine spark within Jesus could be fully expressed in the material world, creating a template for how human consciousness could harmonize with higher forces. Furthermore, the Essenes hint at a secret teaching about the potential of human relationships themselves. The alignment of conscious energies, masculine and feminine, active and receptive, is not limited to Jesus and Mary. They suggested that anyone capable of cultivating this balance could tap into profound levels of awareness, clarity, and transformative insight. The hidden message is clear. Spiritual mastery is relational as much as it is personal. Harmony between energies amplifies resonance, much as Mary amplified and stabilized the resonance of Jesus. And yet, the Essenes' teachings were almost entirely erased from history. The reasons are both political and spiritual. Knowledge of these energetic laws threatened the authority of religious hierarchies, challenged rigid dogmas, and offered a roadmap to empowerment that ordinary individuals could follow. Suppression ensured that only fragments survived, leaving behind cryptic scrolls, subtle allegories, and whispered traditions. It is within these fragments that the truth of Jesus and Mary's cosmic partnership quietly endures, waiting for those bold enough to see beyond literal interpretations. The shocking realization is this: the story of Jesus and Mary, as told by the Essenes, is not about divinity granted from above. It is about the cultivation of human consciousness, the mastery of energy, and the sacred interplay of forces that can awaken latent potential in every individual. What appears miraculous is, in fact, the natural result of alignment with universal laws that the Essenes not only understood but lived by. The beauty of the Essenes' teachings is that they were never meant to remain abstract. Their wisdom was intended to be lived, felt, and embodied. The hidden truths about Jesus and Mary, about resonance, alignment, and the interplay of energies, can be applied in your own life today, transforming not just your understanding, but your very experience of reality. The first principle is alignment with your inner self. Just as Jesus cultivated clarity and resonance through disciplined meditation and observation, you too can attune your consciousness. Begin with stillness. Dedicate time each day to observe your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without judgment. Visualize yourself as a stringed instrument, each string representing an aspect of your consciousness. Slowly, gently bring each string into harmony. Over time, you will notice a subtle shift, a sense of internal balance and heightened awareness, a resonance that allows you to perceive the world with greater clarity and insight. Next is the cultivation of relational resonance, inspired by Mary's role. She exemplified the power of harmonizing energies, of receptivity, and of stabilizing influence. In practical terms, this means cultivating presence in your relationships. Practice listening deeply, not merely to words, but to the energy and intention behind them. Notice how your own energy affects those around you. Through conscious alignment, you can create interactions that are not just functional, but transformative, connections that elevate consciousness rather than merely exchange information. Another key application is conscious intention. The Essenes believed that every thought, every action carried energetic weight. Like Jesus, you can direct your attention and intention toward desired outcomes while remaining aligned with higher principles. Before engaging in any activity, pause and ask, is this action resonating with my higher self? The more consistent you are, the more your actions become natural expressions of inner alignment, creating ripples that influence not just your life, but the collective consciousness around you. Rituals and symbolic practices were central to the Essenes, and these too can be adapted. Simple acts of daily mindfulness, lighting a candle, journaling, walking in nature with awareness, can serve as anchors for your attention and energy. Some practitioners find value in creating small sacred spaces, dedicating them to reflection, meditation, or gratitude. These rituals are not about superstition. They are tools to focus consciousness, to reinforce the subtle alignments that shape reality. Finally, embody the principle of synthesis. Recognize that the Essenes saw life as a dynamic interplay of active and receptive forces, masculine and feminine energies, mind and heart. By consciously integrating these dualities within yourself, action with reflection, doing with being, logic with intuition, you begin to mirror the very resonance Jesus and Mary exemplified. This is not a one-time achievement. It is a continuous process of refinement, observation, and alignment. The practical essence of the Essenes' teaching is simple yet profound. Mastery is not a distant goal. It is cultivated through daily awareness, intentional alignment, and relational resonance. As you apply these principles, you begin to perceive the hidden harmonics of life. The miraculous becomes natural, and the sacred is no longer distant, but present in every thought, action, and connection. The story of Jesus and Mary, as preserved by the Essenes, is far more than history. It is a living blueprint for consciousness, a map of energies, and a guide to awakening. They were not simply figures to be revered from afar. They were initiates, embodiments of alignment, and examples of how human potential can harmonize with the cosmos. Their lives were a testament to the power of resonance, the sacred dance of masculine and feminine forces, and the transformative potential of conscious intention. The Essenes' wisdom reminds us that the miraculous is not distant, mystical, or unattainable. It is the natural result of inner harmony, alignment, and the careful cultivation of energy. Jesus' resonance, Mary's stabilizing presence, their sacred interplay. These were not mere stories, but demonstrations of principles anyone could learn, practice, and embody. To understand them is to glimpse the hidden architecture of life itself. And this knowledge is not just theoretical. Each meditation, each mindful interaction, each moment of intentional alignment is a step toward awakening the same energies the Essenes observed in Jesus and Mary. It is a path that transforms ordinary living into an art of consciousness, a way to engage with reality as a dynamic, responsive, and sacred field. Perhaps the most profound truth the Essenes left behind is a challenge. The hidden knowledge of life, energy, and awakening has always been accessible, yet it requires courage, patience, and awareness to perceive it. It waits quietly, often unseen, in the corners of history and the depths of your own mind, for those willing to seek it. So ask yourself, are you ready to perceive the hidden harmonics of your own existence? Are you willing to explore the resonance that has guided humanity since ancient times? To awaken to the subtle energies that shape every thought, action, and connection? The Essenes' vision of Jesus and Mary was not merely a story. They were a mirror reflecting what is possible within each of us. If you choose to step into this understanding, you are not just learning history. You are awakening a path, ancient yet timeless, that invites you to live as a conscious participant in the hidden symphony of existence.